Oh, wow. I guess it's on now. Okay, maybe I'm not ready. Um, okay, today where I am, it is May the 13th, and um, perhaps I'm quite a few hours ahead of the American continent. Anyway, I guess I'm just gonna wing it today. I think there are maybe a few topics that I want to talk about, and um, I think the thing that I'm going to be driving toward is voting rights. But first, let me say that I guess life is very different in America. So you need friends and family members, the people you work with to be, stay connected socially. And it can be hard in America. I've gone through some of that, and it can be tough. I, I was a driver for a number of years, and some parts are very good, some parts not so good. And it can be very lonely. You could be out there by yourself for a long period of time. And it's really rough if you're kind of disconnected, okay? Um, I guess the thing is that you can, as you get older, you start thinking about, how do you want to live, and if you care, if you want to live, and you start thinking about life and death, and does it matter things that's really important to you, and and everybody's different, and but to a lot of us, it's our families and friends, and that's the community that we're in. Um, some people are very professional and they're very dedicated. I don't know, running companies or a certain career can be very important. But I always tend to go tangents, go rabbit holes, whatever. So, yeah, I want to, stay connected. So, and then that's kind of where um, where we go, like, how we want to live, and part of that, it's who we are, and you can talk about values and where you stand about things, and then people refer to, like, it's a left or a right view. I really don't like that. I kind of don't even like liberal and conservative. Um, Maybe it's more acceptable to say that it's progressive and conservative. I don't know. It's a little old, but so and it's very strict, very restrictive view. So, and then I want to point out about like when somebody referring to another person as a left, or very left, or very right. I just feel like, if you're going too much right, you're just being skewed, right? I don't know if you, or even left, right? You're going to be skewed, and Um, I, can sometimes you need to go one way or the other that way in life, and I just think that most of the time you should stay in the center. Uh, yeah. So maybe progressive and conservative, and being as center as you can. I uh-huh. So so what I want to talk about is basically also is today how we get news. And I just find it's very hard. You got to read a lot of different literatures, like watching news, like, mainstream, CNN, Fox, CBS, NBC, MSN, the mainstream media, right? And then there's other like New York Times, Washington Post, Financial Times, and Wall Street Journal. I just feel like those guys are the heavy hitters, and sometimes I don't know. I don't think it's like, when you say mainstream, but is it really mainstream? Because I don't feel like it, because I don't get that much out. Like, yeah, in the past, maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, yeah, you turn on the channel, you flick on the TV, and it's news time. You have your different channel, and you fairly get the same thing, right? It's slightly different, but you're pretty much caught up what's going on. You read the local paper, the city paper, and you're there. So, uh, um, yeah, so that's bringing it what's matter. And in today's world, I think, um, if you care, right? Um, I voted, but perhaps I didn't vote enough. And this is part of the reason why I'm coming out to do this, okay? So, I'm talking about the news, and, unless you read all those journals and articles, and you have to pay for them, I think it's kind of tough. Anyway, so what I do is I watch other people's, and I want to, run some names, and that I feel that they were pretty good. So, but I'm going to leave out a lot of people. And here's my list, okay? HRC, which is Heather Richardson Cox, or HCR, I don't know, I think anyway, Heather Richardson Cox. And I think she's very center. She cares about America, and she's, comes from academia, a lot of history, American history. And, sometimes when I watch her, it's very hard to see, because she really cares, and it shows. So I'm just going to run a lot of names here, and maybe I'll come back to some of them, maybe especially HRC. Chris Norland and Professor Jing Shi Zhen, Jim Acosta, Brian Kim. Yeah, he's like a finance guy, accountants, non-political, and he just brings out, what's really important. Anyway, let me continue. Glenn Dyson, Ambassador Chaz Freeman, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, Larry Johnson, Colonel Larry Wilkerson, Professor Robert Pape, and he's very pro-American, and I'm fine with that. And then also Judge Andrew Napolitano, Professor John Mearsheimer, Nima Harshid, and even Sean Fu. I know he's not from America, but and in fact he's not pro-America at all. But he's more on the financial side, and sometimes he's very skewed on things. But I feel like he can shed some lights on information, news. Anyway, that's where I am. I probably left a lot of people out. So, but let me go back to HRC. I think today or yesterday, yeah, so today is where I am. It is May 13th, 2026. And I want to talk a little bit about this person that she mentioned. And there's another thing I want to talk about is gerrymandering. And I know that's being talked a lot about America recently because it's like voting rights, which affect all that. So maybe I'll come back to that. But I want to mention this person that HRC talks about, and I think it's very important. And so this person says, is this America, the land of the free and the home of the brave? And I don't know, I would question it, especially if I was this person. So her name is Fannie Lou Hamer, which HRC mentioned a lot. And so she's from Mississippi, I think Sunflower County. It's kind of northwestern part, very edge of Mississippi. So in around the 1960s, so she was a sharecropper, and she, I guess 1962, I think, she just decided to go, hey, I'm gonna go register to vote. And her landlord found out and said, hey, you gotta withdraw that. You can't go through with that. And I think that we were to talk about that today, that's kind of being unheard of. But in some way, if I can somehow relate to, gerrymandering, I mean, and am I really surprised that HRC was explaining about what gerrymandering is? And then she was saying that, some people ask her, can I still vote? I'm just so surprised by that. So, even though she already explained what that is, I think is in a way is that it's very hard for, whichever side that is not in control, whether it's Democrat or Republican, it's really hard for the underdog guy to win. And if it's gerrymander, they just kind of split the district all the way around. If it's one whole, they break it all up. And then, the minority or whatever, they can't get a winner. They can't get, right now, the way things are going, it's more like for the Democrat, they can't get a winner. They're not going to get and this applies to House of Representatives, U.S. House Representatives. So, I know she already explained it, but I'm just surprised that she had to explain it again. Anyway, these are the people, and what this person had to go through to vote, it was historical. I mean, just to say the least. And she paid a very heavy price for it. Very heavy, to say the least, right? Beaten very badly. I mean, very, very badly. And then the people that did that to her, they went in a trial and nothing happened to them. And I think if I remember right, that you know, LBJ maybe even didn't want her to, be on the news, but I guess in a way it's kind of backfire, and she, become bigger, and I think, having lived in America so long, I really feel that, many of us don't make that time, that we need to, because once we don't have it, you know, it's beyond complaining. So anyway, I'm just trying to do my part, and anyway, if anyone is seeing this, I hope maybe you take considerations like think about it, and you can look up this person on Google, and it will tell you a whole lot more about it. And I do think about, like, is this America? Is this the land of the free and home of the brave? I do think about it sometimes, and I don't mind the rich being rich. It's just that we we just want to have a decent life. I mean, and when things are getting harder and harder, you just can't help it. But anyway, so whether you're on the left or on the right, I don't know. I would just argue that it's just for America, not left, not right. Not whether you're conservatives or not. It's yeah. Maybe you can share your point of view and let me know. Tell me off that you disagree or something, and yeah. So that's what I have for you today, and thanks for hearing and watching me. You have a good day, and I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye.